everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. And on this episode, she's someone right now around the Indianapolis area who's starting to take hold of her craft. It's the one and only Rachel Armstrong. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. It's starting to get cold around here. I don't know what the temperature's like in Indianapolis. The big fight right now is, do I turn the heat on or do I not turn the heat on? So for you, what is the great, temperature that you like to have in your household right now? What is the ideal temperature?
I like to keep mine about 75 right now. It's been pretty brutal outside, and I get cold way too easy. So the heater is my best friend right now.
See, you and my wife would get along perfectly. I can make it like 65 to 70. That's kind of like the perfect range for me. She, if it gets below 80, she feels like the apocalypse is coming, and she has to hurry up and turn on the heated blanket. So,
Yeah, I don't even know like what's regular temperature in a household, because mine's always like right around 70, 75 maybe.
Yeah, and Tom's somebody who won't turn on the heat for nothing. He'll have the windows up right now.
Oh yeah, our windows are open.
Oh my God.
I cannot stand to be hot. It's awful. If it was 55 degrees year round, I'd be happy as can be.
I busted out my winter coat the last 2 days.
I did put a vest on, a sleeveless vest. That's about what I normally wear even in the winter.
And for people who don't know, the Midwest just really plays havoc. One day it's 80, the next day it's 30. You never know what you're going to kind of get with us here in Kentucky and Indiana and Missouri areas. But, I think towards the end of the week, it's going to be back to like 75 and 80 outside. So that's one reason why I'm holding off on turning on the heat right now, because I just know it's going to be a waste of time. So. All right. So you're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about you inside of the ring. And for people who do not know you, you're still kind of new to the scene, but yet you're still starting to make your own waves right now, appearing for some promotions such as Girl Fight and wrestling some of the top names, and even being involved in some intergender type atmospheres across the country right now. So let's talk about what got you into pro wrestling, and how has this first year and a half sort of been for you?
So I found pro wrestling maybe around like 5th, 6th grade, and I just stumbled across it on YouTube, came like my recommended, and I always did sports in high school and always super athletic, so I was like, you know what? I feel like I can do that. It caught my interest enough, and yeah, I ended up going to college and trying it out and falling in love even more with it. So here we are now, a year and a half later.
And you mentioned that you played other sports. Now, what sports did you play in school that helped prepare you for your role in professional wrestling?
Yeah, I did volleyball and basketball. I ran track and cross country, played a little bit of golf. But those definitely really helped me out when I started training, because it's like so much footwork in wrestling and like knowing where you're at and stuff, and that really helps you to really get to where you got to go, I guess you got to say, and really prepare you physically for what wrestling needs.
Now, we all know that the wrestling business is not something that just anybody can do. So how was it when you first started training? Was it very eye-opening for you? And what kind of obstacles did you have when you first began?
I was already working out regularly and everything, so I was already like super in shape. So the cardio aspect didn't really get me, but it was more or less just like a whole new ballpark of like wrestling is so different from like any sport you could ever play in high school or just like whenever. So I think that was like the way eye-opening thing is like, it's no other sport can really like truly prepare you for pro wrestling. So that was actually really kind of cool. And it still is cool to still go through stuff and learn and like, whoa, like I would have never like done that and something else.
And that's a really good point. And you hear a lot of talk these days about even people who are on national television, and they're still learning too, right? Because we have people who are learning as they go. They may have something that these companies see. But what do you think about when you hear talents that are good, but they still have things to learn, but they act like they don't want to listen and things like that? Does that, how does that hit you when you hear those things?
Me, man, you can never, ever, 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 ever stop learning. Like, I'm a student right now, like a college student, and like, I don't know. Knowledge is everything. You can't ever stop learning and getting better. And even still, when you think you got everything down, then help that next person behind you out, because you just gotta build everybody up so that you can be knocking stuff out together. So I think that's really the coolest part. But yeah, never quit learning, never stop teaching.
Most people that we have on the show would agree that maybe cardio is a hard part of pro wrestling that they probably weren't prepared for. But for me, with my eyesight, it has to do with timing and reactions.
Yeah.
Because it's just so amazing when you watch a masterpiece match come together and everything's perfect. This person's in the right spot at the right time, and they get up right at the right time. So how do you prepare yourself for that? Because like you said, this is like any other sport around. How did you prepare for that, and was that kind of hard for you?
There really is no way you can prepare for like the timing and like memorizing stuff and rhythm. Rhythm's really hard to teach. Like, people say it all the time, wrestling's a big old dance. And really, truly, in a way, it kind of is, because you got to have the rhythm, you got to have the pace, the timing, the footwork, the patience to keep getting stuff. And the memory, it all has a huge part in it that a lot of people don't realize. So that honestly is one of the main things that I struggle with personally, is putting all that little stuff together to make your moves actually, to make your physical moves actually come together, I guess you could say.
Now, do you have people that you are trying to draw inspiration from to learn those things? Is there like video that you watch of certain people that may try to help you get there? Or how do you take a look at that from a self-training aspect and say, I know I need to focus on this aspect, and then where do you go to try to get that extra help?
YouTube. I don't really watch anyone in particular. I mean, obviously I have my favorites, but when it comes to like actually learning wrestling, I find it hard to have favorites, because like your job kind of. So that's a huge thing. So like, if I know I need to work on my selling, so I'll go and watch, some of the best sellers. Or I know I need to watch footwork or on like such like a move or something or a sequence. And that someone else has already done that, then YouTube is my best friend with that. Like, I'll just go to YouTube someone or YouTube a move and just watch how they do that all the time. And just random matches, you'll catch stuff that you just picked up or saw, and then you see how they do it differently, and how, I don't know, I guess just different ways to get into stuff.
And you mentioned one difference between regular sports and pro wrestling is that pro wrestling is always evolving. I can go to the baseball game this year, go to the baseball game next year, and I'm watching about the same thing. Yeah, they may tweak a little of the rules. Same thing with basketball. But in pro wrestling, you have to continuously upgrade your craft. Chris Jericho is somebody that comes to mind for me as someone who decades ago had this character, but he's had to tweak it, and he's had to tweak it to continue on with today's generations. So when you look at people who are having to tweak themselves, and you mentioned it's something you kind of having a little bit of trouble with at times, just trying to put everything together. How do you find inspiration in that?
That's really kind of the crazy part right now, because that's really what I'm struggling with. Because like, I'm just at like the point in my life, I'm kind of just like trying to figure out who the heck is Rachel. So it's like, that's kind of, I don't know, it's a tricky one for me, because I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But you really do you got to find different ways to stand out, but you still got to be yourself. You got to stay true to who you are too. And it's one thing to know your role and to, evolve into your character and everything, but you gotta maintain your values too. So yeah, I guess that's the fun part about wrestling too, is like you get to go play around with different things that you never can do in a real life situation. So that's cool.
Yeah, and it's super fascinating when you look at people at the beginning of their career, and there are wrestlers out there that are solid wrestlers. The character that they're playing is great. Their in-ring work is great, but it's just not catching fire. And then all of a sudden they'll do something, and it may even be by accident, and they may say something or hit a certain, Steve Austin comes to mind when he did the Austin 316 promo. Prior to that, I mean, it was fine, but it just lit a fire under him, and it started to mold that character in a certain way that he went straight to the top and, had one of the greatest characters ever over something that he didn't plan it to be that way. And I think that happens a lot, is everybody just kind of having to figure out where they need to go with their career. But it's always fascinating to watch that and see people in their first, gimmicks or however you want to say it, and then where they end up being later on in their career is always fascinating to watch and see that grow.
And I think that's one of the coolest things about like the indie scene and like how that's evolving. And there's so many promotions you can go to now everywhere. It's like you have all this opportunity to find yourself and keep growing and learning with stuff.
And the indie shows, some of them are really repetitive. This match and this match are kind of the same. But we've been blessed over the last year where we've gone to a few indie promotions, and almost every match gave me something completely different that I needed to get. Maybe it was a technical match, then it became a high flying, then it became a hardcore match, and then it was a total just great wrestling match and storytelling. So for you, what kind of matchups do you like being involved in? One that has a storyline kind of based upon within it, or just a high flying type of matchup, a good technical match? What's your favorite right now?
I'm kind of a variety girl, I guess. Like I guess it really just depends. I haven't really had many storylines quite yet, so haven't tasted those waters. One-off matches, just a random singles or tag or whatever kind of match. Those are always super fun. I haven't had any like stipulation matches really, so I guess that's something really cool to look forward to. Growing up in the business and experiencing more stuff is building into things like that.
Now, do you have a couple of those stipulation matches that you're itching to do?
I'm kind of down for anything except for the death matches and stuff like that. So yeah, sometime down the road, we'll see where this road takes me.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few of those death matches this year, and kudos to those men and women who get out there and take part in that. And it's a craft all to itself, and it's just a form of wrestling that's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. I love to see it when it's done right. And most of the ones we saw this year, personally, were done right. But has there been a match so far for you that has been your favorite of your career so far?
I've had quite a few pretty decent ones recently. I would say my favorite though is when I faced Billy at Girl Fight. I haven't been able to top that one quite yet, but that one was a lot of fun. It's really nice working with her.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, Billy's had a really great year, and for people who may not know who we're talking about Billy Starks. She's had a fantastic year. And Girl Fight's one of those promotions. I was able to attend one in Bedford, Indiana, and they put on a really good show, all women's show, and it's hard hitting. There's some great talent that they bring in for those type of shows. And that's what I want people to start getting encouraged to go out and watch, is those small shows. Because sometimes you never know who's going to walk through that curtain. And within a year's time, that person may be walking on your television set. And so, have you met someone, though, that maybe that you have not wrestled yet that has pulled you to the side and gave you great, great feedback to help you grow as a competitor?
There have been a lot of people that have really helped me out along the way. Female wise, no, not that I haven't faced. But I got the chance to work out with the Boogeyman not too long ago, and that was a really cool experience. And he's given me a lot of tips to help me out, so that was really cool. Congo Kong, he's always a open ear for all my questions, so that's always really nice. But yeah, to get in the ring with anybody's, I think that's what's the coolest thing about traveling to different places and everything, because then you meet new people and to give you more advice and like going back to knowledge and learning from different people and what they've been taught and sharing what you have and making everything a little bit better.
Now, for the most part, do you feel like traveling around the people backstage and maybe some of the veterans that are on the card, are they very receptive to the new talent coming in and making them feel welcome?
Oh yeah. I haven't been in a bad locker room yet. Everyone's always, I think that's like the coolest thing about wrestling. It's because like high school locker rooms can be kind of brutal, but then you go into a wrestling locker room and no one's yelling at each other and this and that and drama this, and everyone is super nice and open arms for questions and advice and just ready to chat with you and everything. So that's really cool.
Yeah, because unlike when I go to my job, I'm not being competitive with the person next to me to perhaps catch someone's eye. And so there is a lot of competitiveness in that locker room. Yes, it's okay to be friends here and there, but you're all there for the same reason. You want to be seen in front of the televisions and the main media at one point in your career. You mentioned that you are also involved in college, so it's good to see that you kind of got this backup plan just in case. So what are you actually majoring in right now?
Right now, accounting and finance. I'm in my junior year right now, so I should be finishing up next year. Just super awesome. I can't wait to focus on wrestling. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say right now.
You're fine. So was that a promise that you kind of made to yourself that no matter what, that you were going to finish up your schooling to have that to fall back on?
It's kind of crazy because like when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to train to be a wrestler. I knew I was going to go to college just because I just felt like I needed to. Like I just felt that pressure, I guess. And I told myself I'd go to college for a semester, get everything situated, and then I would start training my second semester. Well, lo and behold, I did exactly that without even like realizing that was my plan all along. So then I started training, and then like I just there's like a whole new love for wrestling when I started training. And I didn't want to do school anymore. But then like by the time I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna not do it. I was already like halfway through. So I was like, Rachel, just finish it. Like you're already halfway through. So now I'm just committed to it, just to grind it out for the last year and have that just to have, because you never know.
That's awful challenging. That's a lot to put on your plate. So,
Oh yeah.
do you have some kind of a secret routine that you have to lock down to make sure you get everything done you need to?
Yeah, we just don't sleep because I'm also working overnight just so I can just make it, I guess.
Well, hopefully the sacrifices that you're making now will be well worth it in the next few years. I mean,
I crossing my fingers.
And I can tell you, I feel like there are days that I don't get a chance to sit down much between balancing, work and my kids. And, Tom and I do the podcast, and then we just try to have some spare time as well. And it's hard. I think as a nation, we kind of forgot how busy we were.
Yeah.
Because when COVID froze, we got out of our normal routines, and then stuff's opened back up. We're like, whoa, why am I so busy all of a sudden? We were busy the whole time. We just didn't realize it because we had a chance to kind of sit still.
Mm-hmm.
All right. before we let you go, I'm gonna do some rapid fire questions with you. Okay. All right. Rachel Armstrong's dream opponent at WrestleMania would be who?
Ooh. I would say Sasha Banks or Bianca Belair.
Nice. That's possibility coming up. Possibility. Rachel Armstrong's favorite movie is what?
I'm gonna go skip because I don't have time to watch movies.
Growing up, what was one of your favorite movies just sitting around kind of watching?
I don't have any in mind.
If you go back and look at some of your childhood movies, they're probably not that good now. Every time I turn on one, like, oh, this is great. And then I'm like, oh, that was terrible. Why did I like that? So, yeah. All right. If you could wrestle anywhere in the United States right now, as far as state-wise, where's some place that you would like to go and wrestle?
New York, New Jersey, Las Vegas, anywhere.
Awesome. And does pineapple go on pizza?
Yes.
Ooh,
chicken and pineapple's fire.
I think we got our first one that said yes.
What?
I think you're the first. I like it. It's not something I'll go out and order all the time, but if it's on there and it's got the right meat with it, it's phenomenal. But most of the people are like, no. Like
yes.
we have on the shows, like, no.
I mean,
chicken and pineapple's fire.
I don't think it ruins it, but I wouldn't prefer it.
And so what's the recipe you're telling us to try? Chicken
and pineapple.
Chicken and pineapple. Okay. Me and Tom will be out tomorrow. Maybe we can find some place that's got pizza and we can put a little chicken and a little pineapple in there and try to go from there. All right, Rachel, before we let you go, tell everyone where they can find you at on social media. And if you want to plug any merchandise, here's your chance.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Rachel 18 Armstrong, Instagram, Rachel __ Armstrong, and Facebook, just Google or just type in Rachel Armstrong. We got bracelets going on. I'm gonna have t-shirts here pretty soon. And yeah.
Awesome. For everybody, if you see Rachel on your card, go out and see that show if it's in your area and give her a follow and support her and pick up some of the merchandise if you can as well. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right. For everyone else out there, make sure you're doing what you need to do. Stay safe so you can go out and watch all the great wrestling across the world. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for myself and Tom. We greatly appreciate all the support as always. And if you're out and about and you see us anywhere, say hi to us. We'd love to hear from y'all and love to hear the feedback as well. For myself, Tom, and Rachel, everyone, thank you all and have a good night.